My good people, my good people. Hello, world. Welcome back to the show that's hot with your boy Rob Scott. This is Robs2Cents. And before we begin talking about anything today, I just want to give you guys a huge shout out, all my supporters out there, subscribers, people that has viewed the videos. If you don't follow me on Facebook, real name Robert Scott, you'll see that I have reached my realistic goal of reaching out to my first 50 subscribers. I appreciate all the love, all the support, all that energy that you guys give me. It gives me the energy to put on a great show, to do my homework, to bring you all the info that you might have missed that normal sports shows won't talk about. As we know, they tend to talk about the same thing. So I'm just trying to bring you a different point of view on different players and different topics. I appreciate all the love and support on the road to 100 right now. I wouldn't have done this without you guys. Keep them coming. Please keep liking, keep subscribing, keep sharing. Your boy Rob is going to bring you that energy. He's going to bring you that swag. I appreciate all the love. I got a couple shout outs to give. One of my wife's friends, Will, has a podcast called Nightcap, and he gave me a shout out on his podcast. So I want to reciprocate the love and give Will and Kels a shout out on their podcast, Nightcap. They talk about music, they talk about politics, they talk about sports. Hey, if you're looking for a nightcap, you want to get you a sip of that yak, sit back and relax, go holler at that show, Will and Kels, man. A nightcap. And I want to give a shout out to my boy Tyree. Follow him, like, subscribe up there on YouTube. LBF, that's the number 2, spell out 60. Again, the number 2, that's LBF 262. Up and coming artists out here in Chicago. Man, got to give my boy some love, man. And I want to give you guys some love again. Appreciate you guys. And I know you're here to hear the sports. So let's get right into it because this has been a roller coaster ride with me and you guys. Right now, the NBA just took us on another roller coaster ride. Right now, the Los Angeles Lakers are looking like the team to beat. As you know, any great championship team knows that when we win that ring, it's going to be harder next season. We're going to have a lot of teams gunning for us. We're going to have a lot of teams making off-season moves. We're going to have a lot of teams signing free agents. We're going to have a lot of teams doing trade deals. We're going to have a lot of teams looking to get that high pick in the draft to assemble a roster to beat us. So what we cannot do, we cannot rest on our laurels. We cannot say, hey, we got LeBron, we got AD, and that's all we need. No, you must continue to evolve like the NBA continues to evolve. That is natural selection. Only the strongest survive, and the Lakers are proven to continue to be stronger than ever, especially when you got my boy, GM Braun. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here on Robs2Cents. Yes, I know LeBron is a player, and Bill Russell goes down as one of the only players to coach and play at the same time. But LeBron James is going to go down in history as one of the players to play and be a GM at the same time. Oh, GM Bron, he cooking right now. Let me tell you a couple moves that the Lakers made this offseason. First of all, they re-signed KCP. That's beautiful. KCP deserves it. KCP hit some pivotal shots in that game 4 in the NBA Finals against the Miami Heat in the bubble. KCP deserves his money. He is now a champion. Pay that man. But not only did they re-sign KCP, let me tell you what these dudes done did. The Lakers have bought in Dennis Schroeder from OKC. They bring in Wesley Matthews from, I believe he was playing with Milwaukee. And then you bring in a Mark Gasol, who was with Toronto, who is now NBA champion. And then you bring in 6-man of the year, Big Montrezl Harrell from the Clippers. And not only that, the most important thing is AD has re-signed, restructured his contract. He's gonna be with the Lakers at least for the next year or two while LeBron is there. So you have your two supersides satisfied. You did lose Rondo to the Hawks, in which the Hawks also signed Danilo Gallinari as well. So the Hawks looking to be on the come up as well. But OG and Bron has been cooking up. Him and his boy Rich Paul, they are out here making moves, helping out Rob Pelinka, helping the Lakers keep themselves established as the most dominant team in the league. And then if we look across town at the LA Clippers, they were able to resign Marcus Morris, but they also signed Luke Kennard from the Detroit Pistons, a nice sharpshooter who's going to help them out. They re-signed Patrick Patterson, and then they signed Serge Ibaka. So Ibaka did go to LA, just not the team we thought. He is now with the LA Clippers, who, if I'm giving you my 2 cents on the situation, the Clippers still don't have enough to contend with the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers right now are still looking like the team to beat. The Clippers still are without a true point guard, somebody to direct traffic, somebody to get Kawhi and PG in their spots, somebody who's going to maintain the pace that the Clippers like to play with. Unless Kawhi Leonard or Paul George upgrade their point guard skills overnight, I still see the LA Clippers in the same predicament they were in last year. They're going to possibly make it to the NBA Western Conference Finals, but I believe unless this team gets a great point guard, they will lose to the Los Angeles Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. And we go out east. If we look, Toronto's re-signed Fred VanVleet, 4-year, $85 million deal. He's also an NBA champion. Proud of Fred, man. He definitely deserves that paycheck. We look at Philadelphia. Philadelphia, I can't say has gotten better, but there's still going to be some question marks around Philly. If we look at their offseason moves, they signed Seth Curry. They signed Danny Green. So they have bought in some shooters. They were definitely missing J.J. Redick when they let him go. So to bring in a player like Seth Curry, to bring in a player like Danny Green, as inconsistent as Danny Green is, he is still a shooter that you cannot leave open out there on the perimeter. And he is a 3-time NBA champion. If you look at that with Philly, Philly looks to be primed to make a playoff push. And last but not least, they bought in Dwight Howard, which I think was a huge asset acquired for the Philadelphia 76ers. If you look at Joel Embiid's track record, he has huge health problems. The man cannot stay healthy. The man either is having stomach issues, he's catching the flu, he's having foot issues. So to bring in a player like Dwight Howard, who will continue to help pack the paint, who will be a consistent rim defender, that was huge for the Philadelphia 76ers. However, those question marks that I talk about is, can Ben Simmons continue to learn to stretch his game out, whereas he doesn't need that space that he requires in the paint? Because if he's not working on his game, if he's not at least trying to develop a consistent 17-foot jumper, he's going to run into that same problem that he ran into Joel Embiid, that he cannot get off in the way that he wants to get off because the paint is packed. Bringing in shooters like Seth Curry and Danny Green does help, but only time would tell with the Philadelphia 76ers. Portland was able to re-sign Carmelo Anthony. They bought him back for 1 year. Shout out to Melo. Glad to see you back in the NBA playing strong, brother. You was definitely missed. Mellow time. Y'all know what it is. Mellow. Hello. You know what I mean? They also were able to re-sign Rodney Hood. They were able to restructure his contract. And they bought in a Robert Covington. So I actually think that the Portland Trailblazers have gotten better. Bringing in a Robert Covington that's going to bring you more defense out there. He's a consistent three-point shooter, 3-and-D guy, one of the better two-way players in the league right now. I am happy for the Portland Trailblazers. That was a great pickup for them. But we now go opposite to my Warriors, who just can't catch a goddamn break. if we look at their offseason moves, they did pretty good. They were able to acquire James Wiseman. As you know, he played for Memphis. Warriors had the #2 pick in the NBA draft. They were able to sign to Ken Bazemore, who's going to be making his return back to the Warriors. I really started liking Bazemore, watching him when he was in his Atlanta days. That boy got a jumper, man, and Bazemore is not afraid of the moment. So I think that was a great pickup for them. If you need somebody to just lose consciousness and just shoot the ball without any care in the world, Bazemore is your guy. And then we look that they signed Kevin Oubre, who I believe that was a great pickup for the Warriors. With Andrew Wiggins, you not only have a Kevin Oubre who can get his own shot, but he's very tough. He's a defensive mind kind of guy. He doesn't take no shit. Kevin Oubre definitely is going to be interesting to watch him and Draymond back and forth because both of those players are hardcore. They're going to let you know how they feel, and they're not taking shit from no one. But with all that being said, it's a sad day for the Golden State Warriors, sad day for Dub Nation, sad day for all Warriors fans, as we learned that Klay Thompson has been diagnosed with an Achilles tear in his right ankle, and he is out for the season. I'm a huge Klay Thompson fan. You want to talk about 3-and-D guy, you want to talk about one of the best two-way players in the NBA, can give you 30, will take on the team's opposing greatest player on that team. That boy Klay Thompson is a loss with this injury to the Golden State Warriors. He is definitely an asset. He is not a liability. Klay Thompson scored 37 points in one quarter. Klay Thompson had 60 points in 3 quarters off 8 dribbles. When I tell you he can go nuclear hot, we're talking about World War II. We talking about Hiroshima and Nagasaki hot. Klay Thompson is a dog, and he will be missed. Now, we're not saying that if the Warriors are able to look good in the the postseason, depending on what their standings are, we don't know if he will make a return in the postseason and the playoffs. But right now, we will not see Klay Thompson suit up this year for the Golden State Warriors. But on to a lighter note, the Milwaukee Bucks, as I talked about the last episode, signed Drew Holiday. Learned that they signed Bobby Portis, that they kept Pat Connaughton, and then they also signed DJ Augustine as well. Now, I know that they signed Bogdan Bogdanovic, but come to find out that the NBA believed that the Milwaukee Bucks and the Sacramento Kings had already been in discussions about the trade of Bogdan. So they're trying to charge Milwaukee with tampering right now. So I'm interested to see how that's going to go out. I still think that Bogdan is going to end up in Milwaukee. Hey, we might have mentioned it over dinner, but it wasn't. I don't believe that the NBA is going to be able to go through with their threats or go through with the verdict of finding Milwaukee guilty of tampering. The Heat are poised to make their other Eastern Conference run as we look at they re-signed Goran Dragic, which was huge for them, and they signed Maurice Harkless and brought in Avery Bradley. So the Heat are trying to keep that defensive identity, bringing in Avery Bradley, who's probably one of the better on ball defenders in the NBA. Also can hit an open 3-point shot. As we saw, he went crazy when I believe he hit like 6 threes in a game against the Clippers. So when he was playing with the Lakers last year. So I think that was a huge pickup for the Miami Heat, and they were able to keep that core together. Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson. We look at Bam Adebayo. So they were able, and then of course Big Jimmy G Buckets. The G stand for gets. Jimmy Buckets is still with the Heat as well. So the Miami Heat are poised to make a run in the Eastern Conference. We look at Charlotte. They drafted LaMelo Ball, having the 3rd pick in the draft, and then they also signed Gordon Hayward for 4 years and $120 million. Nothing against Charlotte. I got much love for the GOAT known as Michael Jeffrey Jordan, but him as a GM, him as a president of basketball operations, you need to let the professionals do that, Mike, because there's no way in hell Gordon Hayward should have got that much money. And I'm a fan of Gordon Hayward. I think he's a great small forward in the league, one of the better small forwards in the league. Can definitely space the floor, can get his own shot, can be clutch. Not much of a defender, but he plays tough. But would I have gave him $120 million for 4 years? Hell to the motherfucking no. But that's your team. You're gonna run it the way you want it. We look at Phoenix. Now, Phoenix, I believe, has gotten an A plus in this NBA offseason moves. As we see, they lost Ricky Rubio. He's going to be making his return back with Minnesota. But Phoenix was able to sign Jay Crowder from the Miami Heat. So they bring in a 3-and-D guy, a guy who can consistently hit three-pointers, can get you about 15 points a game, can help guard some of the better small forwards in the NBA, like a LeBron James, like a Kevin Durant. Won't stop him, but he can definitely slow him down. But the most interesting thing that the Phoenix Suns did was they bought over the point guard to their team. They bought over the best leader in the NBA to their team. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about Chris motherfucking Paul, CP3. Chris Paul is now with Phoenix Suns, and let me tell you guys something. I believe him with Devin Booker, he's going to bring the fucking monster out of Devin Booker. We've already seen that Devin Booker can go crazy with Phoenix going undefeated in that playoff, that play-in the bubble to determine who's going to be in the AFC in the NBA playoffs last year. Even though Phoenix did not make it, they went 8-0. They picked up at the right time, and then you look at, they have a DeAndre Ayton, they have a Devin Booker, and now you bring in a Chris Paul. I can honestly say Phoenix has a nice big three over there. Especially you have a Jay Crowder over there too as well. Somebody who can hit those perimeter shots when Chris Paul does his drive and kick. And I believe the knowledge that Devin Booker can gain from Chris Paul is going to be essential to his NBA growth. So I am happy to see Chris Paul with Devin Booker. I honestly do wish that Chris Paul would have went to a team like the Lakers. He definitely deserves a chance to go for a ring. But as we all know, Chris Paul ain't going out like that. Either he going out a Warrior or he just gonna go out. But I don't believe that he wants, and maybe his last year in the NBA, when we see that, he might just say, fuck it, I'll go for a ring. But as we know, Chris Paul likes to fight. And I respect him so much for that. So we have seen some interesting moves in the NBA. Last but not least, we're going to talk about the Nets. They were able to keep Joe Harris. And I'm just interested to see this dynamic of, will James Harden be able to join the Brooklyn Nets? As we know, he has turned down that contract extension with the Houston Rockets, which would have paid him $50 million. $50 million. Good Lord, that's a lot of money. You know that you have to already have a plan in mind to turn down that much money. And we know James Harden has made a lot of money over his career. But shit, $50 million, nigga, you could have gave me $50,000 and we could have been talking some shit. But man, $50 million a year he turned down with the Houston Rockets, demanding a trade to the Brooklyn Nets. So I know I said last episode, I believe that they are mature enough to make that work. However, now the more I think about that with the Brooklyn Nets, bringing in a James Harden, we're just going to have to see, because Kyrie and KD, and I want to tell any celebrity that watches, that I hopefully gain attraction to bring in and watch my podcast, any athlete, I want to let you guys know it's all love here. But when you're on that big stage, you give me the right to critique your game. I don't critique what you do outside of this basketball court or outside the football field or outside the wrestling ring. But when you are performing, you give me the right to critique. And we have seen that KD and Kyrie Irving are two of the pettiest superstars that we've ever seen. We both seen them leave winning situations to want to kind of be the man of their own team. So to even watch them team up together it's like they're contradicting themselves. We don't want to team up with them, but we'll team up with each other, even though fourth quarter time comes, Kyrie better be willing to get the ball up to KD. KD is your best superstar on that team. You better get a ball to KD and let that man work. But then you're going to bring in another ISO player like James Harden, as a box office as that is, with the star attraction that they have on that team. Can they make it work? Is the question. I want to see you guys comment in the comment section. I would love to get your thoughts on that. Will James Harden to the Brooklyn Nets with a KD and Kyrie? We're talking about three of the best ISO players in the game. Can they team up together and make it work? I'll be interested to read some of those comments though. And then we're gonna head right into the NFL. We're moving. We're cooking tonight, baby. We looked at Thursday night game. We saw the Seahawks defeat the Cardinals. So now we see the Seahawks definitively take over in that NFC West conference, defeating the Cardinals 28-21. Russell Wilson 23-28 on the night, 197 yards, 2 touchdowns. The sensational rookie Kyler Murray, he was not to be outdone, 29 for 42, 269 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 INT. However, the Seahawks were able to hold strong against the Arizona Cardinals. We saw the Pittsburgh Steelers run all over the fucking Jacksonville Jaguars, defeating them today, Sunday day's game, 27-3. Big Ben Roethlisberger continues to cook as the Steelers are now 9-0. They are rocking. They are rolling. Still the only undefeated team in the NFL. I believe they're 10-0, but still the only undefeated team in the NFL. Big Ben, 32 for 46, 267 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT. And the defense made Jake Luton from the quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars cough up the ball 4 times today, 4 INTs on the day for him. That defense beat the shit out the Jaguars. Then we looked at the Panthers defeat the Lions, who, oh my God, the Panthers pitched a shutout today, 20-0. The Lions did not score. And if we look at the Panthers, DJ Moore, their stellar receiver, had a great game today, 7 receptions, 127 yards on the day for the Carolina Panthers. We saw the Houston Texans defeat the New England Patriots. We saw Deshaun Watson 28-37 on the day, 344 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 rushing touchdown on the day. So, man, a great game for Deshaun Watson. We also saw Cam Newton, 1 touchdown on the day, 365 yards passing. So they are rocking and rolling over there in Houston. I won't say they're rocking and rolling. They're 3-7, but they're trying to save face for the league. Patriots right now, I believe, are now 3 games under 500. So the Patriots definitely are missing Tom Brady. But what do you expect? You lose a generational talent like that, nothing against Cam Newton, but you lost the GOAT. You're not going to have a great first year. And as we saw the last year that the GOAT was with the Patriots, he had no receivers to throw it to. Cam Newton facing the same situation where his top receiver actually is an old quarterback. There's a player that used to play quarterback in college. So the Patriots have a lot of soul searching to do. We saw the Titans defeat the Ravens 30-24 in overtime. Derrick Henry with the game-winning touchdown in overtime. 28 carries, 133 yards on the day. Lamar Jackson 17 for 29, 186 yards for the day. 1 touchdown, but 1 interception. As the fucking Baltimore Ravens are on the decline. I believe this is about their 3rd loss in a row. They need to get that shit together. We saw the Cleveland Browns defeat the Eagles. What else is new? Oh, welcome to him, Wentz, as I like to call it. Oh, give it to him, Wentz. Man, 2 touchdowns on the day, but also 2 interceptions. Carson Wentz. I think the Eagles, they're trying to put all their chips on Carson Wentz. Not only can he not stay healthy, but he seems to be very, very turnover prone. Carson Wentz need to get his shit together. And if I was the Eagles, I would let that be known by either drafting a high quarterback pick in the upcoming NFL draft or by trading some players to get a backup quarterback over there in Philly, because Carson Wentz does not deserve to be in that starting position. Just my opinion. We look at the Saints. They defeat the Falcons today without Drew Brees. Drew Brees still nursing his wounds, as we found out he had a collapse along with, I believe, 11 broken or fractured ribs. So the doctors do say that he is on the rise, that he's getting better by the day. So hopefully we're able to see Drew Brees come playoff time, because I want to only see the best competition. What's the point of winning if I can't defeat the best? Speaking on behalf of the Buccaneers. But we saw the Saints defeat the Falcons today. That boy Taysom Hill got his start today, 18 for 23, 233 yards on the day, 2 rushing touchdowns on the day. Alec Kamara, he just continues to do his thing, 1 touchdown on the day. And as we saw, Matt Ryan threw 2 interceptions. I believe the Falcons just called it in for the year. Everybody, bring it on in. We'll better look next time. We're just going to go ahead and lose and try to get a high pick in the NFL draft, as we see the Falcons have already defeated themselves. We look at Washington. They defeated the Bengals 20-9. Joe Burrow, the sensational quarterback for the Bengals, injured in the third quarter. Before he left, he had 1 touchdown on the day, 203 yards. Alex Smith with his return start with the Washington football team, 17 for 25, 166 yards, 1 interception, 1 touchdown. Washington wins 20-9. We saw the Chargers defeat the Jets 34-28. That boy Justin Herbert, 3 touchdowns on the day for the Los Angeles Chargers. We saw the Broncos defeat the Dolphins 20-13. Drew Lock, 1 interception on the day, 0 touchdown. Broncos defense definitely stood up. Tua Tagovailoa threw 1 touchdown before he was benched in the 4th. However, he is still named the starter for the Miami Dolphins. So, sensational rookie. Still going to get the start. However, he was benched in the 4th quarter in today's game. Cowboys defeated the Dolphins. We saw the return of Andy Dalton, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception on the day. Ezekiel Elliott finally found his mojo. 21 carries, 103 yards. His running mate, Tony Pollard, 1 touchdown. Kirk Cousins, 3 touchdowns on the day. However, they was not able to get it going, even though Dalvin Cook had 27 carries, 115 yards on the day, 1 rushing touchdown. The Vikings had 2 costly fumbles, so they were able. The Cowboys were able to ramp it up on defense when it counted and get that 31-28 victory. We saw the Colts defeat the Packers in overtime, 34-31. Aaron Rodgers had a hell of a day today. 27-38, 311 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 INT. His favorite target, Devontae Adams, 7 receptions, 106 yards on the day, 1 touchdown. However, Marquez Valdez-Scantling costly fumble in overtime, which set the Colts up for the 3-point chipper, which they were able to defeat the Packers in overtime. We saw the Chiefs lastly in an exciting Sunday night game where we thought that the Las Vegas Raiders had it in the bag. Derek Carr looked to have thrown the game-winning touchdown to Jason Witten, the ex-Cowboy of all people. But Mahomes said, "You left me time, son. You left me time. You might have beat me once, but you ain't going to beat me twice, because my name is Pat Mahomes. I'm an MVP, and I ain't nothing nice." That boy Mahomes had a hell of a day. 34 for 45, 348 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception on the day. However, game-winning drive, he was 6 of 7, 75 yards with a game-winning touchdown to one of his favorite receivers, his tight end, the big man, Travis Kelce, who I believe is the best tight end in all of professional football, who had 8 receptions, 127 yards on the day with the game-winning touchdown. And his other favorite target, Tyreek Hill, 11 receptions, 102 yards on the day, 1 touchdown. So we saw, and then Le'Veon Bell also had 1 touchdown on the day. We saw the old Pittsburgh Steelers. We saw the old Jet able to get his running legs up on them and score a touchdown. Tomorrow night we have the Rams versus the Buccaneers on Monday Night Football, and on Thanksgiving Day we have the Ravens versus the Steelers for some Thanksgiving Turkey Day football. What is Turkey Day without the motherfucking pigskin? You need football on Thanksgiving. This has been Rob2Cents on the NFL. If you look, I still believe the Kansas City Chiefs are the team to beat in the NFL right now. They are cooking, even though the Pittsburgh Steelers are undefeated. I just do not see a team beating the Kansas City Chiefs right now. They are rocking, they are rolling, and they are going to the Super Bowl right now. They're looking like they are poised to make a deep playoff push, and it's going to be interesting to see what team out the NFC is ready to go against Pat Mahomes, because right now, after you look at that game-winning drive that he did on the Las Vegas Raiders, man, I mean, it took the man 45 seconds to 75 yards, game-winning drive. That is ridiculous. 6 or 7, and all of them was passes for the game-winning touchdown that he threw to Travis Kelce. So right now, Robs2Cents in the NFL after this week's of football, week 11 of football, the Kansas City Chiefs are still the top dogs in the NFL. And last but not least, we go to wrestling. We had a great show on AEW. AEW had a awesome show. We saw some great matches, but I want to focus more on WWE this week, just because on WWE we saw tonight the Survivor Series pay-per-view. But to give you a little bit of perspective on what happened and what transpired up until tonight. So if we look at Monday Night Raw, we saw the ladies team get a shake-up. We saw the Raw women's team that first consisted of Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Lana, Dana Brooke, and Mandy Rose get broken up because Mandy Rose suffered a real-life injury due to the hands of Nia Jax. Now, nothing against Nia Jax, but Nia Jax has notoriously been known to injure her women competitors. Most notably Becky Lynch when they had that fight sometime last year, and Nia Jax really broke her nose, and we saw that iconic picture of Becky Lynch in the crowd with her hand raised, just nose bloody, because Nia Jax hit her for real. So we saw when Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler went against Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose in a match last week, that Nia Jax went on ahead and injured Mandy Rose for real. So in this week's matchup, they had Lana with Shayna Baszler with Nia Jax versus Mandy Rose versus Dana Brooke. And I forgot what other person was on that team. But pretty much what happened was, and Asuka. I'm sorry, how can I forget Asuka? And what happened was Shayna Baszler did her move in which she takes your arm, she pins it up, and she stomps on your elbow, and it's a really gruesome looking move. But they used that to get them out of that match, and then we saw Dana Brooke get beat up by Mia Lynn, aka Reckoning, who's the first lady of Retribution. So with that being said, Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce took their spots due to Adam Pearce just placing them in the match. We also saw Team Raw minus AJ Styles. So as we all know, Team Raw consists of AJ, Sheamus, the Limitless One, Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, and Braun Strowman. So we saw Sheamus, Riddle, Keith Lee, and Strowman versus Retribution, which I thought they were about to just kick the shit out of Retribution, who's led by Mustafa Ali. But Mustafa Ali was able to get a surprise roll up on Matt Riddle, and Retribution walked away with the win. But I do have some news for you. Team Raw won. Spoiler alert: they did win that Survivor Series match. But we'll talk more about that when we get to Survivor Series. Hurt Business. We also saw that Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander of the Hurt Business had a WWE Raw Tag Team Title match against the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, in which we saw the New Day retain their tag team titles. So that means that come Survivor Series, we're going to see the New Day versus the Street Profits to see tag team champion versus tag team champion. And then the segment of the night to me before we get into the main event that was on Raw, Bray Wyatt went against The Miz. Bray Wyatt had Alexis Bliss out there with him. Miz had John Morrison out there with them. So beforehand, Nikki Cross, who was Alexa Bliss' old best friend, was in the back looking for her because she just felt, I need to get my friend away from the Fiend. As we know, Bray Wyatt is the Fiend. That's his alter ego. He's pretty much like a serial killer, like the killer clown, like Beetlejuice. Best way to describe him, no bullshit. But we saw the Fiend take over the mind of Alexa Bliss, and now she kind of taking on this Harley Quinn persona of being there for Bray Wyatt. And she came out on the stage while Alexa Bliss was announcing that the Fiend was coming out, and Alexa Bliss smacked the shit out of Nikki Cross, and they proceeded to fight on the stage, and then Bray Wyatt came out, and he gave Nikki Cross this look like, shorty, do you not know who you fucking with? You best to back the fuck up and leave my baby alone. And the look of glee that went on Alexa Bliss's face when she saw Bray Wyatt, and wasn't the Fiend Bray Wyatt, this was Firefly Funhouse Bray Wyatt. As you guys know, this other persona of the Firefly Funhouse Bray Wyatt, he has on this persona where he's like a fucking sadistic Mr. Rogers, where he just kicks the shit out of his puppets all day. And it is fucking hilarious, the Firefly Funhouse shows, those segments, those vignettes that he has. But however, we see Bray Wyatt versus The Miz, who is now the current Money in the Bank briefcase holder. And Bray Wyatt won. He still showed traits of the Fiend inside of him. He was no-selling a lot of punches. No-selling means that when I fake hit you, you didn't sell. You didn't, I mean, he was, and looking back at the man, and they had this great spot because John Morrison kept interfering in the match, and Alexa Bliss just fucking jumped out of nowhere off the stairs and gave a warrior scream and just and dived on this man, and they flew over the barricade, and she popped up and with her eyes up. I mean, Alexa Bliss and Bray Wyatt are fucking gold right now. I think the WWE has hit a jackpot with this fucking storyline. You need to have Alexa Bliss become the women's champion. You have to have Bray become the Raw WWE heavyweight champion. And you need to put all of your money into this fucking storyline, because on Monday Night Raw, this is it. And then we saw something that hasn't happened in a long time. We saw the WWE Raw Heavyweight Championship change hands as Drew McIntyre defeated Randy Orton in the main event to become your new WWE champion, which then changed the landscape of Survivor Series. So instead of Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns for the Survivor Series matchup, champion versus champion, we're now going to see Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns, champion versus champion at Survivor Series. Then we go to Friday Night SmackDown. We had New Day and the Street Profits together as a team versus Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode, Baron Corbin, and Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn, of course, taking the pin after the most amazing frog splash ever seen, possessed by Monte Ford of the Street Profits. Sami Zayn then still cut a nice promo in the back to let everybody know that he's going to be ready for Bobby Lashley, who's the respectable United States champion. Sami Zayn being the Intercontinental champion. He was ready to fight him when they have their champion versus champion match at Survivor Series. Then we see that the men's SmackDown team finally gets complete. We now have Jey Uso, Kevin Owens, Baron Corbin, Seth Rollins, and Otis, who was added by Adam Pearce as the fifth guy to round out the complete SmackDown team for the men's Raw versus SmackDown Survivor Series matchup. And then for the women's team, we saw them wrap up as well as Natalya rounded up as the fifth spot after she won her matchup on Friday Night SmackDown, making her the fifth and final member for the ladies team for Team SmackDown. So that team consists of Bayley, who was the captain, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, the EST of WWE, and Natalya, the Blackheart, the first lady of the Hart Foundation. And then we saw Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre have their contract signing. Let me just tell you, Roman Reigns is the man right now. He has taken on this heel persona and he has run with it. As I mentioned before in my last episode, Roman Reigns continues to get better and better and better as a heel. And right now, he's the best thing besides Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss. He's the best thing going in the WWE, calling himself the tribal chief, calling himself the head of the table, calling himself the head of the table so much that when he came down to the ring to sign his contract against Drew McIntyre, you had Adam Pearce, who's the WWE official. You had Drew McIntyre, Adam Pearce sitting at the head of the table. And Roman Reigns came and he gave Adam Pearce a look. Like, you sitting in the wrong spot, bucko. And Adam Pearce proceeded to get the fuck up and move. Usually at the contract signing, you have the official sitting at the head of the table with both opponents sitting across from each other where they talk their shit, they do their thing, they sign their contract, they get ready for their matchup. However, Roman Reigns sat at the head of the table to remind Drew McIntyre on exactly who the fuck he was. And he made all type of condescending remarks talking about, hey, I knew you can do it, but Paul didn't think you can win your match against Randy Orton. Don't forget who I am. And he told Drew McIntyre, you have always been my favorite number two, indicating that as long as Roman Reigns holds a heavyweight championship in the WWE, that Drew McIntyre is the guy that's in the background. He's a secondary champ. He's the person that they call when Roman Reigns is too busy to come do a photo shoot. They call in Drew McIntyre to fill in his place. Great fucking work by Roman Reigns. I mean, he left Drew McIntyre speechless to the point where Drew kind of genuinely looked pissed at Roman. Like, hey, dude, you playing this role a little bit too good. The tribal chief is rocking and rolling in the WWE. He is one of the best gimmicks going. And then we get back into the matches. We saw Murphy beat Seth Rollins with the help of the Mysterio family, along with his new boo, Aaliyah Mysterio, who's the daughter of Rey Mysterio. And then we saw in the main event, we saw Jey Uso. He lost to Daniel Bryan in the main event of Friday Night SmackDown, which brings us to tonight. Awesome packed show. We saw Team Raw lose. Saw Team SmackDown, the men's team, lose to Team Raw. Roman Reigns wasn't happy about that. As you know, Jey Uso was on that team, and Roman Reigns told him that if you're disrespected, then I'm disrespected. And when they disrespect us, they're disrespecting our family. And he's not going to stand for that. And he literally told Jey Uso to pretty much get the fuck out of his face because he cannot be associated with losers that night. We then saw the IC champion Sami Zayn take on U.S. champion Bobby Lashley. I kind of figured Bobby Lashley was going to win. Bobby Lashley's been on the tear right now, being the CEO of the Hurt Business and the master of the Hurt Lock, in which he placed the Hurt Lock on Sami Zayn, got the submission victory, and the Hurt Business right now are continuing to be on cruise control, being one of the dominant staples in the WWE. We then saw Raw Women's Champion Asuka lose to my boo, Sasha Banks. Banks is money, baby. The SmackDown Women's Champion, Sasha Banks, was able to get that surprise Royal victory on Asuka, probably being one of the first times she was actually able to pin Asuka in a match. So kudos to Sasha Banks. We then saw the women's team of SmackDown lose to the Raw team of SmackDown. And I didn't like the way that it ended. It pretty much came down to Nia Jax and Lana, which Nia and Shayna Baszler told the teams not to tag Lana in the match. As we know throughout these past weeks of Raw, Nia Jax doesn't like Lana. She's put Lana through a table maybe about 8 weeks in a row now. And she didn't feel that she deserved to be on Team Raw for the ladies. However, Nia Jax and Bianca Belair were pretty much your last two besides Lana in the match, and they both suffered a double countout. And because Lana was officially in the match and was never tagged in, because they were counted out and SmackDown didn't have any other women on the team because they were all eliminated, Lana won by default. So your Raw women's team beat the SmackDown women's team in the traditional Survivor Series elimination match. And then we saw Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre. champion versus champion match. Roman Reigns being the Universal Champion holder of SmackDown, Drew McIntyre being the Raw Heavyweight Champion, WWE Heavyweight Champion for Raw. So we saw that matchup. Roman Reigns won, and he won dirty, and I ain't mad at him. Roman Reigns is showing that he's gonna win at all costs. We saw and they had a hard hitting matchup. I mean, we saw Samoan drops through the table. We saw spears through the barricade. We saw some heavy bumps in this match. And in the end, what happened? Roman Reigns had just speared Drew McIntyre through the barricade, threw him in the ring. He was about to deliver another spear, but Drew McIntyre was able to reverse it into a Claymore kick, in which once he kicked Roman Reigns, he fell into the ref, headbutting the ref. The ref fell out the ring. Jey Uso then came down to serve as a distraction of Drew McIntyre, in which Roman Reigns was able to catch Drew McIntyre right in the area, hit him with a low blow. He turned around, super kick by Jimmy Uso, in which Roman Reigns was then able to hit him with a couple of Superman punches, put Drew McIntyre in the guillotine, and then could make him pass out until the ref saw he was no longer conscious in the match and called for the match, with Roman Reigns winning by pretty much choking the life out of his opponent. And then we saw him and Jey Uso at the top of the ramp embrace each other as family, as we know they are real cousins. And Roman Reigns held up the Universal Champion. So it looks like all that shit Roman Reigns was talking, he bagged it up. He walked out the winner of the champion versus champion match, proving that he is the number one champion on WWE Raw. And then we saw, as we know, I wanted to save the best for last, The Undertaker made his debut at the Survivor Series back in 1990. And he had a 30-year career in which he was digging holes and taking souls. The Undertaker, we truly thank you. And tonight was his farewell as he officially retired from the WWE. And did we have a great time? I mean, as we know, his interest was longer than his message. But it was good to just see him walk down to the ring as The Undertaker one last time. We had some people there to celebrate his farewell. We saw the likes of Rikishi. We saw the Godwins. We saw the Big Show. We saw Kevin Nash. We saw JBL, Jeff Hardy, Ric Flair, Booker T, Shane McMahon. Savio Vega made an appearance. Wow, can't believe I'm saying that name in 2020. Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Kane, and The Godfather. As we know, The Godfather is The Undertaker's real-life best friend. They have a wrestling gang or group that ran the back locker room, the BSK. Pretty much a group that consisted of all big fellas in the wrestling industry. You had the Godfather, you had JBL, you had the Godwins. So it had Yokozuna, you had Rikishi. They had some real life mutual friendships in that locker room area, and it was good to see all these guys come out and able just to say goodbye to their friend, to the legend known as The Undertaker, who we know for 30 years has been kicking a lot of ass. If you don't even know wrestling as a true fan, you at least know who The Undertaker is. And it was just great that they were able to send him out. As we saw, Vince McMahon gave an emotional speech. We know about the loyalty that Undertaker showed to Vince McMahon. He never left Vince McMahon for WCW, even though during those Monday Night Wars at a point in time, WCW led the ratings against WWE. But Undertaker stood strong. He said he would never wrestle in the WCW ring. He was always loyal to Vince McMahon, and you saw that emotion pour out of Vince McMahon tonight as he said goodbye to not only one of his greatest workers, but probably one of his greatest friends as well. As we do know, The Undertaker was very protective of Vince McMahon. If you don't know about that story, the plane ride from hell, we know that Vince McMahon and Kurt Angle was on the plane wrestling and having a good time. Undertaker was asleep, and he woke up, and the first thing he saw was Kurt Angle with a headlock on Vince McMahon, and he proceeded to get up and choke the shit out of Kurt Angle in real life. Vince was like, whoa, 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 we were just playing. So we all know about the loyalty, us true wrestling fans, we know about the loyalty that Undertaker has to Vince McMahon. And then, of course, we saw Kane come out as well, Undertaker's kayfabe brother. A lot of history with Undertaker and Kane. I still remember seeing Kane come out, Bad Blood, Hell in the Cell, making his first WWE appearance after we heard that storyline that Paul Bearer gave about Undertaker killing his parents and things like that and burning down the home, but Kane living. So it was just good to see all these wrestlers as Undertaker did his traditional bow on his knees when he raises his hand. We saw a 3D image of Paul Bearer pop up, which was just fitting. As we know, Paul Bearer passed away some time ago. And what was The Undertaker without, oh, yes, Paul Bearer? So it was a great tribute tonight. Awesome show. I am so happy that the WWE is able to still put out an awesome product, even with no fans in the stands. I know The Undertaker would have got a tremendous pop had we had fans there. It would have probably been 10 times, 20 times more emotional. But the fact that they were still able to say farewell to the dead man, it was a great thing to see tonight. And this has been the end of my show. Again, we're on our way, road to 100. I'd like to thank all of you guys for all of the love, all of the support, all of the constructive criticism. It's only going to help me get better, which is going to make this ride, this relationship between us flourish. I'm loving the relationship we having right now. You keep on coming back to see me, and I'm going to keep on giving you that great product. This has been Robs2Cents. Remember, like the video, share the video, subscribe. Robs2Cents. Hope you have a great evening. Hope you all have an excellent Thanksgiving. I know it's going to be hard through these COVID times not to be around our family and our loved ones. But remember, home and family is right here in the heart. You guys continue to be great. And you know the slogan, y'all. We gone.